Hey, everybody. It's Kelly Nielsen here, the Grief Guru. And on this channel, we discuss all things related to grief. What does it look like? What does it feel like? But most importantly, we share tips, tools, and resources on how to move through grief and get back to living a life that you love. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about grief and the 4-minute mile and what possibly could those things have in common. So let's get started. If you're not familiar with the story of the 4-minute mile, let me share a little bit of it with you. The 4-minute mile for years and years and centuries, in fact, was thought to be elusive. It was thought to be impossible. Athletes and runners had been pursuing intentionally the 4-minute mile for quite a long time. They started chasing after it, pardon the pun, back in 1886. And so many athletes and coaches trained and conditioned and tried to break this mark of a 4-minute mile. It was beginning to feel like this was impossible, that the human body could not run a 4-minute mile until Roger Bannister came along. And he set his mind to breaking the 4-minute mile. And in fact, he didn't do it the way all the other experts and coaches thought that it needed to be done, the type of training that they were implementing. He did his own thing. And he ended up breaking the 4-minute mile mark on May 6, 1954. He ran the mile in 3 minutes and 59 seconds. And it was amazing. Around the world, they, celebrated the fact that this was finally broken. And just the fact that one person did it made it possible for many others to follow in his footsteps. In fact, just 46 days after Roger broke the 4-minute mile, another runner, John Landy, broke it and ran it in 3 minutes and 58 seconds. And just a year after that, 4 different runners all broke the 4-minute mile in one race alone. So what we thought was impossible, it just took one person breaking that barrier, and then all of a sudden, many others were able to follow behind. Now, what in the heck does this have to do with grief and loss and recovering from grief? Well, there's a lot of people in the world today that believe and say that recovering from grief is impossible, that you never get over grief, you just learn to live with it, that for the rest of your life, you're always going to be grieving. And I know because I felt that way too. When I lost my mom and I looked around at examples of people who had lost their loved ones specifically to suicide, I didn't find anybody that had recovered. I didn't find anybody that was full of joy. I didn't find anybody that was healthy and happy and loving their life. They just were not to be found. In fact, when I went looking for help and I went to support groups, what I found were people saying it's impossible. I'll never be better. I'll never recover. And I saw people who were really significantly struggling. A lot of them actually were unable to work. They were just kind of getting through the days. And it wasn't until I saw my 4-minute mile runner in person. I saw somebody who had been through a tremendous tragedy and had recovered. I saw her on stage and she was full of life and health and vitality. And it broke that off for me. I saw the 4-minute mile right in front of my face, and I realized it was available for me too. So I decided right then and there I was going to recover. Now, I don't know how long her recovery process took her, and I don't know if my recovery process was shorter or longer than hers. But the thing is, I knew it was possible. Once our mind realizes that something's possible, we can get there usually in faster time than the person before us. And so I know I actually experience with my clients all the time, they're receiving healing and recovery way faster than I received it because of a couple of things. Because they're grabbing hold of the belief and the vision that it is possible way earlier in their journey than I did. That's number one. And number two, they're able to step into the tools and processes that I had to discover for myself and refine over time. They are now able to step into those things, well developed after the fact and use the best version of these tools. And so they're getting breakthrough, healing, and recovery way faster than I even did. Now, the point isn't just to zip through grief and try to, do it fast or even have comparisons that I'm going faster than you. None of that. The point is, let's say without any help, without any support, it would take you 3 years to recover from grief. Actually, here's a fun fact. The range of recovery from grief experts say is anywhere from 6 months to 4 years. That's an incredibly long time. That's a difference of 3.5 years. And so would you rather be debilitated by grief for a shorter amount of time or a longer amount of time? That's the first question to ask. So let's just take the average between 6 months and 4 years. Let's say it's going to take you 2 years to recover from grief, to get back to feeling like yourself and back to feeling excited about your life and your future. 2 years. Let's say it was going to take you 2 years, kind of on your own without much help. Well, what if, just what if, you set your mind to do it in less than 2 years? What if you set your mind to recover in a year? What is that extra year worth to you? What is that extra year worth to your family and your friends and your productivity and your goals and your dreams and all that you have in store? That's a pretty significant amount of time. What if you could shrink it even less? What if you could get down to the lower end of the range, 6 months? Again, I'm not here to dictate for you what that time frame should be. What I am trying to encourage you to wrap your heart and mind around is you should want it to be the least amount of time for you. If it was going to take you 2 years and you can do some intentional things in order to shrink it to a year, then absolutely. I won't run a 4-minute mile, pretty sure, because I don't have the desire or inclination to pursue that as a goal and dream of mine. But if I wanted to take up running, I could learn from others who have that skill set, and I could get the fastest time for me to run a mile or run a marathon or any other goal. That's the principle here that I'm trying to get you to wrap your mind around. Is your grief recovery is your grief recovery. It's personal. And there's no winners at the end of any race. There's no winners at the finish line. You're the winner. And whenever you get to the finish line, whenever you get to recovery, it is so worth it. But I want to encourage you for your sake, for the sake of your children, your friends, your family, the people that are connected to you, to grab hold of, number one, the belief that you can recover, and you can recover in less time than you probably think possible right now. And number two, to give you the determination to go find the support and tools that you need, the trainers, the coaches, the equipment, whatever you need to be able to move through grief effectively and efficiently so that you can get back to living the life that you love. A 4-minute mile is possible, and many people have done it. And recovering from grief and loss in an effective, efficient way and getting back to a life that you love is absolutely possible. So what does that look like for you? Certainly, that's what we do here at the Grief Guru. We have coaches who work with people, and they're not just any coaches. We have coaches that have been through very specific types of loss, because we want to pair you with someone who is familiar with your loss. So you can learn from a coach who's been in your shoes and who has run their own 4-minute mile, and they're going to give their best to you, their best experiences and the tools that we've refined and developed. And honestly, whether you work with us or not, I just want to encourage you to define for yourself what your 4-minute mile looks like in grief recovery and go after it. As always, all of us here are cheering you on every step of the way.